Hello, my name is Geogen and welcome back to World of Tanks. More specifically, World of Tanks Center Stage. This time we're watching dimmelis, or dim, and that is not a derogatory term, it's literally the shortened version of his name. And Dim here is in his Panzer IV H, which way back when used to just be called the Panzer IV. But it was split into 3 different tanks on the same chassis when they introduced the historical battles mode, which has subsequently been removed. Anyway, he's joined by a T-67 and a VK 3001H, both tier 5s. Oz in the T-67 and Prevmaniac in the VK. And that's a very nice amount of damage into the T-25 with a high explosive Derp round from this 105mm gun. As you can see, 105, 410 average damage and 53 average penetration. He also carries 10 rounds of heat ammunition, which have 104 pen and 350 damage. And lastly, some armor piercing, but that only has 64 penetration. So when you shoot at the side of lightly armed targets, you are likely able to do them some significant damage. However, as it is a derp gun, it has a long aim time, and sometimes the accuracy can fail you. Let's see what Dim can do here. So we did 103 damage there on the side of the Cromwell, still good damage. 89. Those were both non-penetrating hits. Oh, I forgot to mention we're on our my favourite map. So there you go. Let's see if he can get a good shot here. He's doing some very decent work indeed. That was a penetration to the front of the Panzer IV. 391 damage, more than makes up for the 89 damage done previously. Unfortunately, misses that shot. He's loading a heat round now. He wants to quickly remove that tier 6 threat. But even with a heat round and 104 pen, it just bounces. Probably off the gun. The rate of fire you can see is pretty decent, and he's still got another heat round loaded. And that one connects. But have you noticed how slow it is to register the hit? Because the nature of the weapon means it has very slow firing ammunition. But he is supporting his comrades on the hill, and as you can see, Prevmaniac took out that Cromwell that we did some good damage to. And there you can see, well, 2 things happened there. He missed a shot at a close range target because the Leopard was able to pull back, and secondly, artillery landed square on him and did substantial damage. Because this is a tier 5 machine, it doesn't have a huge amount of hit points. So he's only down to 140 now. And he took 338 from that high explosive that we all know and love. Number 79 damage into the KV-85. It's pretty standard to get that sort of thing. 145 is better on a heavily armed turret, and Oz takes him out in the T-67. Some good work between these 3 players. VK, another 150 damage. It's pretty nice, and the rate of fire, as you can see, isn't too bad. Of course, it's slower than that of 75mm guns, but he's doing significant damage, and he's probably doing some critical damage as well. Fired a blind shot, or possibly firing at that Hetzer, which is spotted but outside of his radio range. But he misses in either case. And a Nassau's been spotted and reduced to quite low health, but there's also a Hellcat. And I thought he got a splash damage kill there. But it turns out Prevmaniac finished him off. And another penetration into the side of a poorly armoured tier 6 tank destroyer secures another 387 damage. He's been using his heat rounds sparingly and hasn't touched his AP. So the majority of this work is done with high explosive and time to get some payback. Unfortunately, the artillery is moving and he does take out Oz with a likely shotgun, the close range blast of that gun. So he's been using this position to good effect, and also you may have noticed he's using binoculars. He must have quite a decent crew in this vehicle, because when those binoculars are active, he has pretty much almost view range cap. Let's see what he can do with these enemies which are unaware to his presence. Lovely damage into the side of a Panzer IV. I would have been very surprised if that penetrated, but he still did good damage into the OI. So, OIs aren't the only ones with derp guns. Panzer IV H's can also do the job well. This vehicle is very similar to that of an M4 Sherman using a 105 gun as well. I'm not sure what the differences are between the two vehicles. Secures another kill on the side and rear of the Hetzer though. And he was tracked, so the shell could go exactly where it was aimed without the worry of the enemy moving. It's just his VK left now. Let's see if you can find him. And Prevmaniac's now joined him in that VK 3001H, which I haven't played since it's been changed to a heavy tank. Used to be a medium, I think. And I think it used to be a tier higher. And have a different turret and gun. So I had to see what that's like. It's good to see these lower tiers because I'm like, what is this? I haven't seen this in a long time. I do play lower tiers though. So I'm not just one of these tier 10. Another nice 113 damage on a very thinly exposed part of his turret armor. And the benefit of high explosive is, as you've seen, he doesn't need to penetrate in order to secure the kill. And there it is, 4 kills, 3,110 damage. Mostly with high explosive, with the help of some heat ammunition. Only 3 rounds of it, however, in a tier 6 game. Really, really good to see some team play between him and his 2 platoon mates, helping them in that central position on F. Let's see, is it F6? F6 and E6. Really nice to see. And he's also using binoculars, which also helped him with his view range. You did see the drawback of the gun in terms of the slow the slow travel time of the shells, but as you can see, if you know what you're doing, you can do substantial work. Let's take a look at dimmelis's post-game stats. So, as you can see, Dimmelis here is a very competent player in his Panzer IV H. He got his 3rd mark of excellence, which I believe means statistically he's better than 99% of other players playing this vehicle in the last 2 weeks. A mastery badge, a bruiser, a fighter, a fire for effect, and a high caliber. In a tier 5 and a tier 6 game, 39,000 credits earned, almost 40,000, and 4,143 experience on a standard account, times 3 first win of the day, but you can see how he managed to haul in quite the nice amount of credits and experience, and you can see here on the right hand side he would have earned 6,200 experience on a premium account. On the right here you can see he killed 4 enemies and damaged several others. And he did 4 lots of critical damage to that Hellcat, which probably included his engine, probably the ammo rack and other vital components. So a lot of critical damage, as you can see, with these high explosive 105mm guns. Team score, he came top, obviously. 3,000 damage, which is, well, a lot of his players didn't do any damage, and therefore someone had to carry the team, eh? 1381 base with 4 medals, as I talked about earlier. On the enemy team, we have this VK3601H, who again was trying to help his team out a lot, but to no avail, due to the efforts of this Panzer IV that dimmelis was using. And also the help from Oz and the VK driven by Prev Maniac. Detail score, detailed report even. 27 shots fired, quite a few misses, but a lot of very good penetrations considering it's a high explosive gun. I know he did use 3 high explosive anti-tank rounds, but even so, that is a very good ratio to see. It did get hit once by artillery and it did penetrate, removing the majority of his health, but he still managed to survive, shake it off, and go on to do great things. 9 enemy vehicles damaged, 4 enemy vehicles destroyed, and some assistance damage, probably due to that use of binoculars boosting his view range. As you can see here on the right hand side, 39,000 credits earned, some on the repairs and quite a lot on ammunition, but he still made 18,000 profit. You can see the breakdown of his experience down here, as well as the battle duration. Now, a lot of people play tier 5 and 6, especially if they're on their standard accounts, because the higher tiers cost a lot of money, and tier 5 and 6 generally are quite good at making money, especially if you do something like this. So I hope you enjoyed watching dimmelis in his Panzer IV H on the favourite map of mine. It was a very entertaining game to watch. Sorry if I sound a little bit ill, I am a bit under the weather, and I may sound a bit not with it, but I did very much enjoy watching the replay that dimmelis sent me, and I expect he'll have many more games to come like that. So, you can see how the Panzer IV can be used with a 75mm gun, which I believe used to use when I had one. But again, it can be very effective against tier 5 and 6 opponents when you're using the 105 with high explosive, especially if you're shooting at the side of Hellcats, which have, well, basically paper for armor, and you can get those lovely penetrations. He also got a surprising number of penetrations on some more significantly armoured opponents, including a T-25 at the beginning of the game, which doesn't have the thickest armour, but it is sloped, and it's certainly much stronger than that of the Hellcat. But regardless, he still managed to do a great amount of damage. So if you did enjoy the video as I did making it and watching the replay, please be sure to give it a like down below and possibly share the channel and the video with your friends by hitting the share button. As always, I've been Geogen, this has been World of Tanks, Centre Stage with dimmelis in the Panzer IV H, and I'll see you chaps and chapettes in the next one.